So, a interesting story has come out very recently, and that is someone who is a very important figure in my world of the political spectrum. Someone whom I stumbled across years ago. And ironically enough, I stumbled across him for something not related to politics whatsoever. When I was young, and I still watch it some to this day, but when I was young, I was an adamant watcher of professional wrestling. Absolutely loved to watch WWE. And there was a certain legend of the wrestling business who was known as Jesse the Body Ventura. Now, I stumbled across him because of professional wrestling. But then I saw segments that he did on newscasts, so on and so forth. And lo and behold, he sounded a lot different than a lot of the other people that you heard talk about things. You heard a lot of people talk about how bad the Republicans were. You heard a lot of Democrats. Oh, the Republicans, the Republicans, the Republicans. But us Democrats, we are the working party's, political party. We're the working class party. We represent the working people of America. Meanwhile, the Republicans were saying basically the same thing. We've got your best interests in mind. They want to take us away from being this and that. They want to change our country all around. Okay. And meanwhile, Jesse Ventura basically came out and said, so let's examine just how corrupt the both of you are. And then he broke it down step by step on just how corrupt they were. And I'm sitting there listening to it, and I'm like, wow. This guy's actually got a good point here. Neither one of these parties are really worth anything. They're all a bunch of corrupt elitists. And at the time, my brain is sitting there going, how do people not see this? How do people vote for someone, listen to what they campaign on, and then not comprehend within 4 to 8 years just how much of the stuff they said they were going to do and did not do? How do they not see that? How have people not woken up from that reality? How have people not come to grips with the fact that they're not getting anything out of these politicians? Well, it turns out there are a lot of people out there who have woken up from that reality, but there are many more out there who have not. However, the rumblings are really out there. There's a lot of rumors stirring about Jesse Ventura could be potentially running for president. Now, I would say this. Jesse Ventura has teased this idea for a long, long time. But let's be honest. He teased a Senate run potentially in '08, and that didn't happen. Okay? He's teased about at least 2 to 3 presidential runs, and that hasn't happened either. Okay? But arguably, if not now, by the next election, we will most certainly be seeing at a time where a third-party candidate could have a strong chance if they put the right game and ground game together. Okay? If Jesse Ventura were to run for president, there would be absolutely no questions asked. That guy's getting my vote. Okay? Say what you want. Call him a conspiracy theorist, X, Y, and Z. Nah, I'm going to be voting for Governor Jesse Ventura. Okay? There's absolutely going to be no questions asked there. Hands down, he's got my vote 100%. And I've said that long before even the last election cycle. Governor Ventura has been my guy for a long, 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 long time. Now, all the people floating around out there, okay, who keep making this case, well, a vote for a third-party candidate would be a vote for Donald Trump. Okay, you're saying that as a person who's clearly planning on voting for Joe Biden. I wonder what a Trump supporter would have to say about that. Because do you think that if Jesse Ventura, or really a good third-party candidate, even if Tulsi Gabbard, for God's sakes, had ran third-party, okay, Do you really think that they're only going to pull from the Democrats? Because by my recollection, the Republicans blamed Ross Perot for why they lost. So, by your ideas here, okay, if voting third party means I'm voting for Donald Trump and he's a Republican, well, history has shown that it was actually the Republican Party blaming the third party candidate for why they lost to Bill Clinton. So, make sense out of that for me, please. How is it that I could be voting for Donald Trump, yet I guarantee you that Donald Trump supporters would tell anyone considering voting third party because they want an outsider, which Trump ran on to be. He said he was going to be that outsider candidate who wasn't going to bow down to the status quo, and he's kind of let a lot of people down. There's a lot of people who might say, no, I'm going to vote third party too. How many of those hardcore conservative or just hardcore Trump supporters would turn around and say, well, if you're doing that, you're voting for Joe Biden? There's a problem there. You can't be voting for two other candidates when you're voting for one that's neither one of them. So what you're trying to tell me is that because I vote for a candidate whom isn't going to be a corporate bitch, that I would basically be voting for two entirely other candidates. But you insert name here that I'm voting for the person you don't like because you support this candidate and I didn't vote for him, so I voted for his competition. Yet you would say, if you were a Biden voter, I voted for Trump. A Trump voter would say, I voted for Biden. And yet I didn't vote for either freaking one of them. So, all of you people out there saying, oh, if you vote third party, you're voting for the other side. They make this thing called laxative. Now, here's what it does. It cleans out your bowels. Gets rid of all that fecal matter. Okay? Now, I suggest you have some because you're way too full of shit. If I vote third party, my vote goes to that candidate. It doesn't go to the one you don't like because you're afraid if I don't fall in line and vote for your corporate candidate, the one you don't like is going to win. Here's a novel concept. Quit allowing piece of shit candidates to be nominated. Quit listening to mainstream media's paid for propaganda by Big Pharma, the military industrial complex, the big health insurance companies, Wall Street, and all the other lobbyists who buy ads so they can control the news narrative and then try and tell you how all the things we can do to make our society better can't be done here. Other countries can figure out how to do it, but we're the greatest nation on earth and we can't. If you're going to keep buying into that narrative and voting for these center-of-the-road corporate candidates, you're not going to get the vote of a lot of people who are sick and tired of that status quo BS because they know what it leads to, and that's more of the same old screwing over middle-class America and blue-collar America. And they're tired of it. Some aren't. But here's the thing. For all the people saying that I should fall in line and vote for your corporate candidate, let's be clear about something, and let's understand one thing. I've taken a blindfold off on the facts and the realities of the political world. How corrupt Democrats are, how corrupt Republicans are. I don't hide the truth for any of them, and I'm not going to. Why should I? Where am I indebted to any of those people that I should cover for a single one of them and kiss their ass? I'm a blue-collar guy in a small town in Spartanburg, South Carolina here, okay? And I have a decent life, decent form of income. I'm not wealthy. By the grace of God, I'm not, poor either. I'm living a comfortable life. But I certainly don't owe the government a damn thing. I don't owe the government an ass kissing. Because they certainly haven't gone out of their way to look out for the folks like me out there. They use and abuse us at every turn they can. Doesn't matter if there's a D after their name or an R. They take full advantage of it. Jesse Ventura has pointed things like that out for a long time. So, see, I've taken my political blindfold off. It ain't there anymore. And what you people who insist I should fall in line like a nice little obedient troop and vote for your candidate because you're too afraid that the other boogeyman on the other side's going to win. If you're a Trump voter, you don't want to see old senile Joe in office. And if you're a senile Joe voter, you don't want to see crazy old orange man in office either. So you think I should just fall in line and vote for your candidate on either side. I've got to pick a side. No, I don't. I'll vote for the candidate I think's best for the job, whether he wins or not. Or she wins or not. Well, I don't know who's going to be on that ballot at the end of the day. But I'll vote for who I think is going to be the best candidate. Pure and simple. I mean, that's all there is to it. And for anyone who has a problem with that, oh well, quit putting flawed candidates out there who have no policy to really run on. All they have is propaganda to run on, or identity politics to run on, and that makes not a difference in a working class blue collar person's life. Things that, keep jobs, help the worker, grow income, things like that, that's what affects working class families all across this country. So I will vote. If Jesse Ventura would run, I'd be voting for him. And you're not going to stop me. So I want you to understand this. As I've said multiple times already, my political blindfold is off. What you are advocating for is for me to put it back on because you refuse to wake up to reality and take yours off. Here's the thing, okay? Anyone that has stumbled across indie media at this point and actually really truly sits down and listens to it, and at the end of the day finds sense in the Joe Biden campaign or any of these other Republican campaigns or mainstream Democrat campaigns, and you really think that there's something admirable, honest about these campaigns, that somehow that they're actually decent, what have you been watching when you've been watching these programs? What have you been listening to? Have they gone in one ear and out the other? I mean, if that's where you are still at this point in time, and you've watched channels like mine, you've watched channels like Big Talk, Little Talk, you've watched Hear Me Out podcast, you've watched The Radical Independent, you've heard things that Dennis Potvin has said, you've seen Nico House, you've watched his content, you've seen Jimmy Dore, you've seen Kyle Kalinske, and this is where your head is still at, that this corporate middle of the road stuff is somehow going to be the right thing because you don't want to vote third party, and you somehow think that this strategy, which has been tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed time and time and time and time and time and time again, is the right strategy. Why waste your time even getting on this platform and watching any of this content? Go watch CNN and MSNBC, because that's who you're clearly listening to. Now, am I saying that indie media should just give up? Absolutely not. Indie media should steam, full throttle ahead. Keep moving forward. We've got to try to wake more people up. But understand this, to all you people who like the way your blindfold feels, and I guess think that ignorance is bliss or something, and refuse to take it off and say that voting for the corporate candidate is just the best thing to do, so hop in line. Not happening for this guy. And I sincerely hope that Governor Jesse Ventura does run for president. And once again, I will say this. If he does run for president, no questions asked. He's got my vote when the South Carolina, when the elections take place. He'll get a vote in South Carolina from the Vigilant Independent.